Hey, what's going on everyone? Nick here with HN Entertainment's spoiler-free review for Avengers Endgame. So I just got back from seeing it at Disney with my friend, and it was a very transformative experience. You know, it's one of those films where you have to kind of like see it multiple times. It's really still sinking in with me. It's only been like an hour and a half since we got out of the theater, so I will try to give as best as thoughts as I can on the film while it is still processing with me, because like I mentioned, it is going to be a film that I'm going to have to see probably multiple times to really fully grasp how I feel about it and how I feel about certain things it's going to introduce to the larger MCU and how it kind of bookends everything. And another hard part about talking about this film is that you really can't talk about it without going into spoilers. So my general thoughts walking out was that it was very satisfying, it was incredibly emotional, and it was an epic Marvel comic book film on a scale that we have never seen before, ever. And that's, you know, really with anything, Marvel, DC, any comic book movie, there is a sequence in this that just, you know, it tops everything that we've seen. It takes and elevates comic book sort of set pieces to a whole nother level that we never could have really even imagined to see on the big screen. Now, that isn't to say the film is without flaws. There were a couple things that I am still kind of iffy about. Obviously, it is 3 hours long, but you never really feel the runtime. It's kind of like with Infinity War, where it's like that was nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes, but that one you never felt like, okay, this is dragging. It felt like, you know, the story's moving, and the same way with this film. While it is 3 hours, you never are sitting there like, man, this is kind of boring, can we get on to the next scene? Everything in this is very vital and pivotal to the story and also to the MCU as a whole. I really feel like this film is a love letter to everything that Marvel has done thus far, and it really shows you and kind of expands upon previous MCU films that you never thought about, like in a certain way. It also does provide, in my opinion, a very satisfying conclusion to what was started in Infinity War with Thanos, the Infinity Stones, what happened with the snap, all of that stuff. It's all wrapped up in a way that I found profoundly satisfying, and it didn't leave me like, man, I wish they could have done things differently or something. It was a conclusion that I was happy on, and it was a conclusion that I want to see what's going to happen next right away. And also with Endgame, like Infinity War, it's a movie that I would rewatch right away. Like when we came out of Endgame, I was like, man, I want to watch that again. So I think that even though it is very long, it's very crowded with stuff and elements in it, it's a film that you want to rewatch and revisit again right away. And of the characters that we have of the original 6, and there's obviously others like Nebula, Rocket, War Machine and stuff, but of the original 6 Avengers, I really felt like this was Captain America and Tony Stark's story. So I really enjoyed both their characters. They get a lot of stuff to do in this one. I think a lot of people that were upset with Captain America getting the short end of the stick in Infinity War will be pleasantly surprised with this film. So overall, I am going to give Avengers Endgame an 8.5 out of 10. There were flaws with it. It wasn't the greatest film of all time, but it is definitely in my top 5 MCU of all time. It was very satisfying, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I wish I could talk spoilers and kind of go into my full thoughts on where the MCU is going and what happens, the ramifications of the film, but perhaps I'll do a separate spoiler review sometime this weekend, and we will be talking full spoilers this week on the Marvelite, which will be recorded over the weekend. So on the chance that you guys got to check out Avengers Endgame early or in theaters, be sure to drop your thoughts down in the comments below, but obviously let's try to keep it as spoiler free as possible to preserve the first time viewing experience. For more updates on Avengers Endgame and everything Marvel and pop culture, be sure to subscribe to HN Entertainment.